Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury. Thank you, Julie, Josh, and Carl, for that amazing prelude. My name is Darlene Anderson Alexander. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Sunday Services Team Coordinator this morning. I'm so glad that you are able to be with us this morning, either here in person or via Zoom, because you are each an essential part of our gathering today. Whether this is your first or your thousandth Sunday in our midst, we are stronger because you are with us. Together, we create community, the community that we so desperately need as we navigate this moment in time. Here at UU Danbury, our beliefs are diverse and inclusive. We have no shared creed, but rather a shared covenant. A covenant that is expressed through the inseparably shared values of justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity, all deeply connected through love. As a congregation, we have been gathering together for over 200 years. And as we work to build a more just world, we respectfully acknowledge that our physical building here on Clapboard Ridge Road is on the traditional unceded land of the Pequasit people. Our roots are very deep and yet, of course, imperfect. This morning, we are very fortunate to welcome Reverend Linda Susan Ulrich to our pulpit. Linda Susan is a minister, writer, musician, and activist dedicated to radical inclusion, deep collaboration, and courageous kindness. I love that. Courageous kindness. They have served congregations in Connecticut, Michigan, and Minnesota. Linda Susan is a certified spiritual director and identifies as a gender dynamic bisexual person of color. So welcome. We're so happy you're here. Next week, Reverend Tony will start us off on May's Soul Matters theme of imagination by looking at new ways to consider the stories that we tell ourselves. And we hope you will all join us. For our first announcement today, I believe Peter has something exciting to tell us about.
Morning, folks. Peter Horton, your untiring stewardship lead. If you were here last week, you know that we only got to a pathetic 18 pledges out of 95. Ugh. But this week, the great reveal, well, we're actually up to 34. A third of the way there. But at 34 pledges, we're more than 55% of our number, our dollar number. So just take a minute. I talked to Rev Tony yesterday because I really am frustrated. 34 is not a really good number with a week left. But he reminded me there's really perhaps two types of congregants out there. Some, like Rev Tony, just said, wow, I know I have to pledge, but I haven't done it. So, and I know there are people in here who, like Truth, who actually has their pledge form in their pocketbook. So that's great. But the group that Rev Tony reminded me of is that these are really uncertain times, and there might be a group of folks out there that are a little bit anxious, a little bit uncertain about what the future has out there, and a little bit reluctant to commit something. But he also said, you know what, folks? This is why we need to support UUCD, because in times of uncertainty, this is our family. This is what brings us certainty, and we want to make sure that that certainty continues through the next year. So if you haven't pledged, please do, and I have a list, but it's a fun list of folks who have pledged. New members, Jean Kanan, I hope I pronounced the last name right, and Justine McCabe as new members. Super generous pledges. Thank you very much. And if you're a new member, you have a question about your pledge, please find me at the end of the service. Just another side of generosity. Old members that have been here a long time. Annie and Inga have completed their pledge. Barb Myers got her pledge in the first week. And I don't know what was going on in her life, but she just like opened up their chicken coop and let all the money come out. It was great. Also, it really helps when old members also make a pledge of generosity. Randy and Jane, thank you. Really meant a lot. Sorry. Alex Mackay and Prissy Lee, also long time members. But their pledges come in, super generous pledge. And I just, on the side of warning for some, you know, when we don't get your pledge, the board calls you. Last year, Matt and Jan McPartland just got so many phone calls. And it was like, wow, what do we do to get the pledge? Their pledge is already in this year. They don't want the phone call. So thank you very much. We are family, and we're proving it. We got one more week, folks. So if you're sitting on your pledge, I know just about everybody sitting here knows you're going to make a pledge. It's just a matter of, yeah, I need to make that pledge. Please do. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter and team. Sherry, do we have any other announcements? Highlights? No? Okay. Well, in your order of service, there are many announcements. This Tuesday, okay, yes?
Announcement. It says about the connection corner is in the corner for anybody who has questions about us, and it's not there, but I'll be there. So come talk to me after the service.
Okay, so if you didn't hear that, Lisa will be over in that area at the connections side of the room after the service to chat if you have any questions. This Tuesday, there's a community dinner, Taco Tuesday, and we'll feast on tacos, a taco salad bar with all the fixins, and then discuss our efforts this year to become a more welcoming congregation, especially for trans and genderqueer folks. So come on to that on Tuesday. Please look at your order of service. There are many other announcements in there worth looking at. Yes, sure.
I was just at a meeting yesterday morning of a group called Danbury Unites for Immigrants, and they're working on putting together some organizational stuff. So I'll be reaching out to you by email, but if anybody's interested and I miss you, please contact me, Margaret Henderson. You can get to me through Sherry at the church office. Thank you.
We also have a lot of information about what's going on here in our weekly newsletter and the events calendar on our website at uudanbury.org. So check those out for more information. Before we begin worship this morning, I encourage you to turn off your cell phones and invite you to greet those around you, either here in person or using the chat function on Zoom.
Good morning. We begin with words by Amy Carol Webb called Sacred Unknowing. We will light this flame for the art of sacred unknowing. Humbled by all that we cannot fathom in this time, we come into the presence of what we do know, perhaps the only thing we can ever know, that love is now and forever, the only answer to everything and everyone in every moment.
Going to invite Lana to come up and help us with our chalice. So we make this time and this place holy simply by being together. And we begin by lighting the flaming chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. So please join me in reciting this morning's words to light our chalice. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and justice is its light. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to see and speak the truth in love, to help one another and celebrate life. And now please rise in body and or spirit and join in singing our hymn of welcome, number 389, Gathered Here.
Mystery of the hour. so good to be together. Let's say the words for our children's affirmation. They're on the screen. We are Unitarian Universalists. We are people with open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. We care for the earth and each other.
So Sierra Marie and I are going to do the story together today because we are going to do an improv game called Questions Game. Now, the rules are simple. Sierra Marie and I will play out a scene using only questions. So that means we can't use statements, we can't repeat what the other person said, or ask questions that don't help move the scene along, like rhetorical questions and such. So I would like to turn to you two for a setting. Where are we? Where should we be for this story, for this game?
Any other ideas?
The moon? Did I hear the moon? Oh, that's nice. That's a really good one. Okay, so anyone can answer this one. Who are we? What characters are we in this scene that will take place on the moon? We can be anyone.
Buzz Aldrin.
Buzz Aldrin and?
A mouse.
A mouse? Sweet. You want to be the mouse?
Sure.
Sweet. Okay, so that's all we need. I'm going to put this down. And I'll begin. Okay, here we go. So what are you, a mouse, doing on the moon?
I'm wondering what you're doing on the moon. I've been here for a long time.
How have you survived so long?
How have you survived your trip up here?
Isn't that a wonderful thing that we can make it from Earth to the moon?
I wonder if we could go anywhere else.
Where would you want to go?
I wonder if we could also go to a planet
Which planet?
in another solar system, I wonder. And I wonder who you would take with you.
Who would I take with me? I wonder if Neil Armstrong is still around. And scene. Excellent. So now we've got a very solemn hymn to do that I invite you all to join in. It is known as the Hokey Pokey. So I invite everyone to rise in body as you were willing and able. You can also do the sitting any way you want. You can move into the aisles if you need a little more room. Feel free. We're going to start with the right hand. You put your right hand in, you take your right hand down, you put your right hand in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Your left hand, put your left hand in, you take your left hand out, you put your left hand in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself back. That's what it's all about. Right foot, you put your right foot in, you take your right foot out, you put your right foot in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. You guessed it, left foot. Put your left foot in, you take your left foot out, you put your left foot in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Put your head in, you put your head in, you take your head out, you put your head in, and you shake it all about.
You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Put your whole self in. Put your whole self in. You take your whole self out. You put your whole self in and you shake it all around. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Woo! Give yourselves a hand.
Okay, I'm going to invite both Lana and Zella up to light our lantern to bring down. And hold up your donations if you've got them for the Dorothy Day Hospitality House, your food donations. And we'll come around and collect them in a minute. And you all can keep singing the hokey pokey while we do the collection.
You put your right hand in, you put your right hand out, you put your right hand in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around.
That's what
It's all about. You put your left hand in, you put your left hand out, you put your left hand in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. You put your right foot in, you put your right foot out, you put your right foot in, and you shake it all about. You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. That's what it's all about. Excellent.
That was fun. When we give our time and energy to the work of this congregation, and when we donate to its financial support, in addition to our pledging, we are giving gifts to each other. Each one of us gives to and receives gifts from all of our members and friends, and together we give to the community around us. To give electronically this morning, you may use the QR code on the screen. You may also mail a check to UUCD at 24 Clapham Ridge Road in Danbury, and our lovely ushers will gratefully receive your in-person offerings. Thank you for your generosity. Now is the time in our service when we share the milestones of our lives with one another. It is a time when we come together as a community, a time when we can offer healing and hope, and a time for giving thanks and offering gratitude for blessings great and small. In order to create this space for each other, we've refrained from making announcements or sharing political opinions. If you're with us online today, please write your milestones in the chat if you wish to share them. So we will begin by sharing silent milestones. Please. Today's reading comes to us from Reverend Dr. Samuel Wells. It's called Two Important Moments in Improvisation. There are two important moments in improvisation, the moment of formation and then the moment of decision. For example, take Chesley Sullenberger, the pilot who landed in the Hudson River when his plane was hit by a flock of geese. He is the classic improviser. Here he is. He's just taken off from New York with 150 people on board, and his engines go out. What does he do? Well, that's not the moment to look for an extraordinary gift of skill. All he can do is fall back on what he's practiced hundreds of times before in his training. So he improvises. He's never been in the air above New York and had his engine go out before. He's in a new situation where he has to fall back on the formation that's taken place over decades. So he looks around, sees the Hudson River, and he thinks, I can dip down in there. I might hit something, but it's less of a problem than landing in the middle of Manhattan. I'm going to give it a try. It's a classic moment of improvisation. He's not being spontaneous, clever, or witty, but he is bringing into the moment all of that shaping over a long period of time.
There was once a man who decided to become a Buddhist monk. Upon entering the monastery, he made a vow not to leave until he had learned something significant enough that he could teach it to others to relieve their suffering. So he studied and chanted and meditated diligently. He served his community with humility. He stayed 10 years, then 20. And even though his teachers felt he was ready to re-enter the world, he knew that he had not yet fulfilled his vow. Finally, after 30 years, he announced that it was time for him to leave the monastery. Of course, many people in the local village had heard about this monk, and as he exited the gates and began walking away from the temple, a young girl came up and started walking beside him. "So what was it?" she asked. "What was the important thing you learned after 30 years?" The monk looked at her and said, "Meet what arrives." Meet what arrives. I had a chance to practice that several years ago under very different circumstances than a monastery. I was driving on the highway behind a giant truck hauling dirt. And the reason I knew what it was carrying was that the black tarp on top wasn't secured very well. It kept flapping around so much that I could tell that it might fly off at any moment. But I drew on my practice of staying present and just stayed aware of what was going on with the tarp, with the other cars around me, with my speedometer. And sure enough, in a place where the highway goes uphill and around a slight curve, the plastic sheet suddenly came undone, floated upward for a second, and billowed right towards me. And in that moment, I was completely calm. It was like time had elongated. I was present enough that I noticed how beautifully and elegantly the material caught the air, flowing like a dancer's skirt. I could tell it was going to land across my windshield and cover my view, so I decided to keep driving and see what would happen. And right after it covered me, it got pulled into the slipstream and whipped right over the car. And when I looked in the rearview mirror, the sheet had dropped to the ground, no longer a danger. About 10 seconds later, I found myself a bit shaken by the experience. Combination of adrenaline and, oh my God, did that just happen? Careening around my nervous system. And yet I recognized that if I had seized up with fear and slammed on the brakes instead of meeting what actually arrived, I could have gotten seriously hurt. That ability to act from presence and instinct, reinforced by practice, is the heart of improvisational theater. Improv isn't about being funny or wacky or super quick. It's about being in the moment, using what the other actors have handed you, and then responding organically in a way that advances the scene. Several years ago now, just before Stephen Colbert started as the host of The Late Show, GQ ran an interview with him. Did any of you happen to read it? It's pretty extraordinary. At one point, Colbert, who's a master of improv, talks about the need to be focused, intentional, and fully present in order to do comedy. The final goal, the product, is beside the point. The end product is jokes, he said, but you could easily say the end product is intention, having intentionality at all times. The process of process is process. When Colbert first performed improv on stage at Second City in Chicago, their director emphasized the most important lesson he could teach them. You have to learn to love the bomb. It took me a long time to really understand what they meant, Colbert said. It wasn't, don't worry, you'll get it next time. It wasn't, laugh it off. No, it means what it says. You got to learn to love when you're failing. The embracing of that, the discomfort of failing in front of an audience, leads you to penetrate through the fear that blinds you. Fear is the mind killer. He said he trained himself not just on stage, but in everyday life, even in his dream states, to steer toward fear rather than away from it. Samuel Wells, an Anglican priest and theologian who provided today's reading, has written about the parallels between improv and ethics, which for him are about forming a person's character more than judging their actions. While improv seems Random, chaotic, and on the edge of crashing, as one person put it, it's actually structured spontaneity, governed by rules and grounded in habit. Actors can approach a range of unknown situations from a place of humor and confidence instead of fear. In any given scene, you've got different choices about how to respond when it's your turn. You can block, you can accept, or you can over-accept. Wells illustrates these concepts by describing a child jumping out of her seat and running on stage to play a piano just as a concert pianist enters the stage to perform. In this scenario, the pianist could accept the situation and let the child continue to play. The pianist could block the situation by having security escort the child off the stage. Or the pianist could over-accept by sitting down on the bench with the child and playing piano with the child. As Wells puts it, over-accepting imitates the way God operates in the world, because the divine neither blocks what has been created nor tosses away its original material. Over-acceptance folds into the scene and informs what comes next. One of my very favorite improv games, which is all about over-accepting, is called Yes and. The idea is that you're part of a design team coming up with new features for the company's latest product, usually something deliciously ridiculous like a balloon-powered bicycle or an edible cell phone. And after the first person shares their idea, everyone else applauds and says, "Oh my goodness, that's totally brilliant! That's stupendous!" Then the next person in the circle says, "Yes, and it also includes," whatever they're adding into the mix, and so on. Whether the suggestion is hilarious, pedestrian, or a complete non sequitur, every idea gets cheered. Now, even though I've introduced this game to many groups, I still get surprised by how much difficulty some folks have. You'll hear someone say and begin, "Yes, but..." The word "but" has the effect of negating everything that came before. Others don't trust their instincts or think their idea is too boring, even though the agreed upon rules mean that everyone gets cheered no matter what. What this game also does, besides helping us work with whatever scenario we're faced with, is to give us practice at holding multiple possibilities at once. That balloon-powered bicycle can have a self-steering navigation system and a disco ball that spins when your hands are on the grips. The edible cell phone can have an antenna made of licorice and operate only when there's enough signal from a local college radio station. Things that may seem like opposites may be in fact independent variables. I can love you from the depths of my heart and be furious with you. One does not negate the other. Improv, like religion, isn't a solo endeavor. It makes its home in communities that, as Wells puts it, are schooled in a tradition so thoroughly that they learn to act from habit in ways appropriate to the circumstance. The actors come to embody the structures and rules of the improvisational form in a way they can trust. They know that their training will be available to them whenever they're on stage, even when they're plopped into challenging situations. He notes that this is exactly the same goal as theological ethics. To be so present in the moment and so steeped in our spiritual values, beliefs, and aspirations that we act from that place without needing to think about it. It's no longer what we do. It's who we are. Ethics is not about being clever in a crisis, he writes, but about forming a character that does not realize it has been in a crisis until the crisis is over. Improvisation is not about being spontaneous and witty in the moment, but about trusting oneself to do and say the obvious. You can trust yourself in the midst of the unknown. Your response becomes obvious because you know who you are. And you can do so in community because you trust the people you're with and the agreements you've made with each other. Our ability as Unitarian Universalists to live into our covenants, those agreements we've made with each other, is something we learn by being in a spiritual community. This is where we get to practice being faithful to our values, beliefs, and aspirations. Just as in improv, practice forms skill, skill forms habit, and habit forms instinct and character. Wells writes, in every moral situation, the real decisions are the ones that have been taken some time before. To live well requires both effort and habit. There is a place for both. But no amount of effort at the moment of decision will make up for effort neglected in the time of formation. I want to toss in a reminder here that the goal is not perfection. The process of process is process. People will disappoint you. Grief will visit you and your loved ones. You won't always have the answers. Maybe like the game earlier, you'll only have questions. You may not even have those. And so you meet what arrives. And that's what reduces suffering. You may or may not know that Stephen Colbert is the youngest of 11 children, and when he was 10, his father and 2 of his brothers, the 2 closest to him in age, were killed in a plane crash. The older siblings had already left home by then, so it was just him and his mom for years. During that interview, he and the author, Joel Lavelle, eventually come to the question of how he could have suffered such intense losses and yet somehow arrived here. It's not just that he doesn't exhibit any of the anger or open woundedness of so many other comedians, it's that he appears to be so genuinely grounded and joyful. In a very thoughtful response, Colbert talks about learning from his mother's example. She was broken by what had happened, but never bitter. Maybe, he said, she had to be that for him. He has said this before, that even in those days of unremitting grief, she drew on her faith that the only way to not be swallowed by sorrow, to in fact recognize that our sorrow is inseparable from our joy, is to always understand our suffering ourselves in the light of eternity. It was a very healthy reciprocal acceptance of suffering, he said, which does not mean being defeated by suffering. Acceptance is not defeat. Acceptance is just awareness. He smiled in anticipation of the callback. You gotta learn to love the bomb, he said. Boy, did I have a bomb when I was 10. That was quite an explosion. And I learned to love it. So that's why. Maybe, I don't know. That might be why you don't see me as someone angry and working out my demons on stage. It's that I love the thing that I most wish had not happened. I love the thing that I most wish had not happened. He was 35, he said, before he could really feel the truth of that. He was walking down the street, and it stopped me dead. I went, oh, I'm grateful. Oh, I feel terrible. I felt so guilty to be grateful, but I knew it was true. It's not the same thing as wanting it to have happened, he said. But you can't change everything about the world. You certainly can't change things that have already happened. I would add, though, that you can transform their meaning. So what are the bombs that have gone off in this congregation? I know that concern around gender identity have been contentious, such as the signs on the bathrooms. Undercurrents of dissent and distrust can undermine decisions you've made together. And at times, folks can let their discomfort get in the way of responding effectively to what's going on nationally. I'm sure there's more. Every congregation has its stuff. So how do you learn not just to grit your teeth and get through these things, but to love them? Actually love them. I really wish I knew how to juggle right now, because it would be such a great illustration of turning anxiety and comfort into delight, though delight still tinged with risk and the possibility of chaos. The juggler knows that things could fall apart at any time, but they also know that meeting what arrives allows them to act from what they have spent countless hours practicing. Certainty would only be possible if they left those juggling pins inside a bag, unused. Far more orderly, but way less delightful. This congregation is full of possibility. But the commitments you've made in the past and the effort you've put into them, celebrating what is good in life, offering comfort and care in times of need, working to create a just society and a sustainable earth, encouraging lifelong spiritual and intellectual exploration, those are the decisions that speak to who you are, not just what you do. So let's act from that place of delight rather than fear, that place of presence and love and gratitude and meaning and risk rooted in well-trained instincts. And may we find plenty of laughter along the way. Amen, and blessed be.
Thank you, Reverend Linda Susan. That was wonderful. I really enjoyed that. Now it's the time in our service when we will extinguish our chalice. So please join me in the words on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. And you may join me in body or spirit and sing hymn number 1020 from the Teal Hymnal, Woyaya.
Friends, when you know who you are, when you know what your values and beliefs and aspirations are, the world is full of possibility. It is possible to act from that place of love, that place that centers us, and be out in the world a force for justice, for compassion, for truth. May we each stay connected to our source, to our love, to our commitments, that we may act from that place every day. Go now with courage and with kindness and be a blessing to the world. Amen.
And one way that we act out our faith in the world is by a call to action, which I understand is now going to be part of every one of our services. So thanks to Yvonne for providing, where'd she go? Oh, there she is, for providing these opportunities for us in this upcoming week. May Day National Days of Action and Protest on Thursday, May 1st at 5:30 in Brookfield, 5:30 in Newtown, 11 o'clock on Saturday, May 3rd in Bethel, and also on Saturday at 11 o'clock in Ridgefield. And an email blast with details will be sent out early this week. And then we also have the Saturday protest that Joe reminded us of.